Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to explore a launch that was frankly completely chaotic, but it permanently transformed the eyewear industry. I mean, have you ever wondered how a tiny startup with practically zero inventory managed to take on one of the quietest, most powerful monopolies on the planet? Today, we're going to break down the exact mechanics of the Warby Parker revolution, relying directly on the incredible details from our source material. It is literally a masterclass in how to dismantle an industry.
Picture this. It's February 2010. Four Wharton Business School students are sitting around watching their brand new website just absolutely melt down. But it's melting down in the best and kind of the worst way possible. Because just 48 hours after launching, the unthinkable happened. GQ magazine dropped a piece calling them the Netflix of eyewear. I mean, imagine launching your little startup and instantly getting slammed with this massive culture-defining endorsement from GQ before you're even remotely ready. Orders just started pouring in faster than anyone had planned for.
The rush was so intense they sold through their entire launch inventory in a blink. But the site just kept taking orders. Why? Because, well, they literally never built a sold-out button. Nobody thought they'd need one right out of the gate. So within 48 hours, you've got this lone panic developer scrambling to live code an emergency waitlist on the fly, while customers just kept clicking. And by the end of that stretch, that duct-taped waitlist swelled to 20,000 eager customers. You know, most startups die from crickets. Warby Parker almost drowned in absolute hype.
So, Section 1, the $700 squint. Let's look at the personal loss that sparked it all. Let's step back and see how these four students accidentally broke the internet. The spark for this whole revolution was actually pretty relatable. Founder Dave Gilboa was on a backpacking trip and lost a $700 pair of glasses. Facing massive tuition bills, he just couldn't justify replacing them, so he literally spent an entire semester squinting at lectures. And that sheer everyday frustration led him and his classmate, Neil Blumenthal, to pull on a very specific thread. Wait, why does 800-year-old technology cost as much as a brand new smartphone?
Which brings us to Section 2, the monopoly in plain sight.
When they started pulling that thread, they found a massive, quiet Italian giant named Luxottica. These guys had a vertically integrated chokehold on almost every aspect of your vision care. Most people have never even heard of them, right? But they owned or licensed practically every major brand: Ray-Ban, Oakley, Chanel, Prada. And it didn't stop there. They owned the retail stores too, like LensCrafters and Sunglass Hut. Oh, and incredibly, they even owned major vision insurance plans. One single company controlled the brands, the manufacturing, the stores, and the insurance. And because they controlled the factories, the stores, and the brands, Luxottica could mark up a few grams of acetate by 10 to 20 times their actual manufacturing cost. I mean, think about that. Your $700 frames weren't expensive because they were hard to make or because the materials were super rare. No, they were expensive because virtually every single step from the factory floor to your face passed through the exact same corporate hands. It was a captive market, and they priced things exactly how they wanted.
All right, Section 3, the $95 solution. Time for a new playbook.
The founders quickly realized that playing by this industry's rigged rules was a total losing game. Instead of relying on a traditional model where products pass through multiple corporate middlemen, every single one taking a cut, they completely bypassed the monopoly. They figured out that by designing the frames themselves and going straight to the exact same factories making the luxury brands, they could sell directly to you online for a flat $95. And yes, that included prescription lenses.
But here's the thing. They didn't just want to sell cheaper glasses, they wanted to build a genuinely better company. Before Wharton, Neil Blumenthal actually ran a nonprofit called Vision Spring that distributed affordable glasses in the developing world. So, taking that background, they literally stitched a buy a pair, give a pair model directly into their core business. For every single pair sold, a pair went to someone in need. This wasn't some tacked-on marketing gimmick. This radical generosity was baked into the brand's DNA from day one.
Moving on to Section 4, engineering trust. Let's look at the home try-on.
Now, industry experts at the time absolutely insisted that nobody would ever buy identity-defining glasses online. I mean, glasses sit right on your face, you have to try them on, right? Well, Warby Parker's genius answer was the home try-on program. You go online, pick 5 frames, they ship them to your door for free, you test drive them for 5 days, buy your favorite, and ship the box back entirely for free. They took the awkward friction of retail salespeople hovering over you and completely eliminated that trust gap.
They combined this totally risk-free trial with a super smart PR strategy.
Instead of buying boring traditional ads, they heavily courted high fashion press like Vogue and GQ. So suddenly, that trust gap and the nobody knows who we are problem, they both vanished at the exact same time. Demand just exploded into that 20,000 person waitlist we talked about earlier. The result? They hit their entire first-year sales target in about 3 weeks. It was an absolute beautiful catastrophe.
Which leads us to Section 5, Surviving Extreme Success.
Being horribly unprepared for massive success is the kind of operational stumble that will torch most young startups. So how exactly did they survive selling glasses they literally did not have? 2 words: speed and candor. They didn't hide. They didn't make up excuses. They treated that overflow demand as a promise they absolutely had to keep, rather than an embarrassment to sweep under the rug. They communicated honestly with customers about the delays, all while the founders were frantically trudging from bank to bank, getting rejected left and right, begging for the cash to actually manufacture the inventory they'd already sold.
And wow, did that persistence pay off? It really goes to show that true grit is required way, way after your viral moment happens. Over the next decade, they evolved from a panicked dorm room website into an absolute powerhouse. They ironically opened hundreds of physical retail stores, becoming this massive online to offline success story, all while fiercely protecting that original $95 entry price. And it all culminated in 2021 with a public IPO at a multi-billion-dollar valuation.
Finally, Section 6, Lessons Beneath the Acetates. Looking back at this wild journey from a $700 lost pair of glasses to a multi-billion-dollar company, what's the real takeaway for us? Warby Parker didn't somehow outmuscle Luxottica. They just used radical transparency to show people what glasses should actually cost. They proved that massive leaps start with totally shaky first steps, like launching without a sold-out button. They proved trust can be engineered creatively with a cardboard box. And maybe most importantly, they proved that a frustrating, everyday personal problem can actually reveal a massive, industry-sized opportunity waiting to be solved. Let's be real, none of this happens if 4 students just shrug and accept that things are the way they are. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to look closely at your own life. Think about your own daily frustrations and ask yourself this final question. What overpriced, locked-up corners of your world are really just massive opportunities wearing disguises? Because honestly, the next huge disruption might just start with you, long before the world ever gives you permission to launch. Thanks for diving into this with me.